Hello everyone! A while ago I talked about some of the things that we don't yet know about how people learn. And one of them was which activities should students do individually and which ones should they do collaboratively. And I was thinking that explanation activities would lend themselves really well for collaboration because, if you remember, they ask students to explain how visuals show information, and when students collaborate, that may actually help them engage more actively in these explanations because they can help each other make sense of how visuals show information. But I wasn't sure about intuition activities. If you remember, intuition activities give students many example visuals and ask them to just induce through experience how they show information. And that develops perceptual intuitions about, what visuals show. And on the one hand, I was thinking that collaboration would not be suitable for these intuition activities because students tend to talk when they collaborate. But if you remember from my earlier videos, intuition activities actually try to discourage verbal explaining because verbalizing can interfere with the development of intuitive knowledge. Instead, the intuition activities that I described earlier expose students to many example visuals so that they can train their intuitive knowledge about what they show. On the other hand, when students collaborate, they also use a lot of gestures, like they can point to direct each other's attention to relevant visual features. And pointing might actually help students learn which features to pay attention to, which can help them learn perceptual intuitions about what the visuals show. So, my student Jay and I conducted a study where we had students work with intuition activities collaboratively in pairs. And we asked the students not to talk to each other, but instead to communicate only by pointing. And we interviewed the students about how they felt about communicating without talking. They said that it felt strange at first, but they also thought that their partners' gestures helped them learn. We also analyzed how they gestured, like what they pointed at, and whether what they pointed at were actually visual features that were relevant to learning the perceptual intuitions that we wanted them to learn. And we did find that they actually pointed at important features, so that was good. And finally, we compared the data on how students performed on these intuition activities when they worked collaboratively to data from a previous study where we had students work individually on intuition activities. And we found that students who worked on them collaboratively actually made fewer mistakes, but it took them a little bit longer. So, we think this is the first indication that collaborating without talking, only using gestures, could actually help students learn perceptual intuitions because they get better at it and they, point at important features and they feel like their partner's gestures help them. The ultimate test, of course, would be to compare students who work on the intuition activities collaboratively to students who work on them individually. And then we would want to test whether the group that works collaboratively shows higher learning gains on tests not only of the perceptual intuitions themselves, but also on tests of domain knowledge. And that's an experiment that we're planning for the future. So, stay tuned!